We hear about people in need overseas and we hear about the poverty. But when you see it with your own eyes, you are affected a lot more.
My name's Rashad. I'm a father of 4. I'm a field technician.
My name's Mahmoud Abu Shmes. I'm Abu Ismail, father of 5 children. Also a grandfather of 3.
My name is Murad Salik. I'm married and have 2 children.
My name is Anwar Elamad. I work in the construction industry. I run a concrete pumping company, alhamdulillah.
My name is Ahmed Dannoun. I'm one of the administrators of Al-Ihsan Foundation. I mainly look after the logistics of the travels when we actually carry out aid through various countries.
I've travelled with Al-Ihsan to Kenya and to Bangladesh.
Indonesia, Malaysia and Turkey.
With Al-Ihsan, I have travelled to Indonesia.
I've travelled to Turkey, to Gaziantep and Rahaniya, I believe. It's right on the border, actually see Syria.
I've travelled to Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Somalia, Turkey and other countries.
My first trip was to Turkey. We visited the Syrian refugees and the orphans.
Before I left, what I actually saw was much, much worse than I anticipated. I didn't realise how big it all was, how vast. I didn't realise the need this world really needs.
Before I left to Indonesia with Al-Ihsan, I expected obviously to see poverty, to see people in need, and upon arrival, subhanallah, what I experienced was beyond my expectations.
Bangladesh, we heard of what was happening also on the TV and in the masajid, and I didn't know what to expect.
The first time I travelled, I didn't actually expect it to be so humanising, if that's probably the right word to use. When you work for community centres here in Australia, you almost become desensitised to what, the repetitive work that's involved. But travelling overseas are different things, different needs that people require is 2 different things.
There were many things that I saw that was heartbreaking. One in particular, we visited a widow with her children. They lived in a basement in a house. Their kitchen, their toilet and their shower was in the toilet. And it was just a small, smelly, dirty old room with a hole in the floor. The food stuff was actually on the floor where all the, unfortunately, dirt was.
We were watching a class and it was out in the sun. 2 days beforehand, it was out in the rain. They were still out there being taught. They're not sitting on mats, they're not sitting on carpet, they're not sitting on any sort of luxuries, they're actually sitting on dirt. All different ages, to set in different groups. It was actually quite cold. It's sunny, but it was quite cold. What really sort of got a hold of me was, they didn't have like socks on. I thought, my grandkids, they leave socks behind and, next day new socks have probably been bought. They don't have actually socks, and, I just looked at that scene itself. I don't know what words would describe it. Maybe shocking. Maybe, what the hell are we doing? What is this world all about? At the same time, I looked at Abu Ahmed and, I just realised what this guy goes through. We think, it's really nice to go around the world and travelling and that, but between him and Brother Ahmed Dannoun, they're full on. It's really hard work, and besides the hard work aspect, it's like devastating to your heart. And it doesn't matter, I ask Abu Ahmed, how the hell do you get used to this? He says, Abu Ismail, I don't. He doesn't actually get used to it. This is the thing, you do not get used to these things.
I don't like doing this sort of stuff for these reasons. One thing which I remember, in Kenya. We were on the road to Garissa, and we stopped in an area, and all they wanted was water. They weren't asking for money, and they weren't asking for food. And they showed us an area which they hand dig, and they tell us once the wet season comes, it fills up with water. And I remember seeing a lady there, and that's when it really hit me, and I thought, this lady is someone's mum. She's so. This lady is somebody's mother. She could have been my mother. And she's my sister in Islam. And even though we're coming from another country, I just felt some sort of connection seeing this old lady, and I thought, well, this could have been my mum. Yani, if she was my mum, I'd be in this situation with them. I'd be there. I'd be living there. And that's one bit that really, really hit me before we even got to the Warsa area.
Looking back at the Al-Ghouta campaign that we did a couple of months ago, that's still going, alhamdulillah. We were in contact with 2 or 3 people at the time, and we were sent recordings of those 2 people telling us what they require and things like that in order to assist those that are in need inside Al-Ghouta. And that was sent in, like, say, in the early hours of Australian Eastern Standard Time. By about 10 p.m. that night, we received word that because of the bombardments of raids that were happening at the time, 2 of those people passed away. A few days after, the other contact that we had, we actually had notifications from him messaging us, telling us that, look, we're getting rained on at the moment, and that if you don't hear from me, this is it. I actually can't, contact you anymore because I'll be dead. To those exact words, a day or so later, we actually received word that, our bakery that we had was hit by a shell, and alhamdulillah, they had to actually move the bakery to another area, which they did, alhamdulillah.
There was one particular incident. We went to a masjid. This is the time where we were helping people with disabilities. And we took a few wheelchairs to a masjid, expecting to give to people who couldn't walk. But what we saw was even beyond this. A man entered the masjid. SubhanAllah, he had no limbs, no legs, no arms. I think he had only half of one arm. SubhanAllah. And he made his way into the masjid. And upon receiving his wheelchair, subhanAllah, the joy we're seeing in this man and the happiness we're seeing in this man was probably the most rewarding thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Al-Ihsan Foundation's projects overseas are detrimental to people. It's not something we're trying to just improve. It's a drastic need. It's people in war, in famine, in literally they need food and water. We're actually tackling all world's problems at grassroots. You're hearing a problem, as soon as you hear it on TV, Al-Ihsan Foundation is already there.
During my experience with Al-Ihsan Foundation, we've achieved a lot of good to the people. Not just temporary band-aid style, but rather an ongoing project such as Orphanage, which is our latest project, water wells, and you can see the people benefiting continuously. And the good thing about working with Al-Ihsan is that I can see that 100% of the donations go into the project, which is a great advantage for all the donors and puts a satisfaction in my heart being part of this team.
The work that Al-Ihsan Foundation is currently doing is very, very, very important. I mean, the amount of people that we've assisted in the last couple of years alone, Allahumma barik, is phenomenal. We can only do so much with the capabilities and the resources that we have.
We need to support these people to the best of our abilities, and wallahi, no matter how much you give these people, Al-Ihsan, you're not given enough.
Wallahi, it is extremely important that we get behind Al-Ihsan I've seen with my own eyes. I've seen firsthand the work that these brothers are doing. Wallahi, there is nothing more rewarding, nothing more satisfying than seeing the happiness and the joy in people's faces once they have received the help which these brothers are providing.